Yeah. Good evening, speaker of the day, architect Senthil Kumar, and good evening to all the construction professionals and customers who have logged in to this 69th webinar that we are having. In fact, the basic objective of having this webinar is to clarify some of the common queries that is involved in the architectural as well as the civil aspects of the construction. Before we go into the clarification of queries, let me just take some time to introduce the organization. Of course, all of you are aware of Ramco Cements, and then to introduce the speaker, architect Senthil Kumar, who has taken off his time to join us. Just a brief about Ramco Cements, although all of you know about Ramco Cements, but just let me just touch upon some of the initiatives that we have taken in the recent months. Ramco Cements, as all of you know, is the flagship company of the Ramco Group. The Ramco Group itself was started in the year 1930s, and then thereafter in the 1960s we started the cement. We entered the cement industry, and since then we have been able to introduce the latest technology initiatives in every stage of manufacturing, starting from mining till packing. Recently, as all of you know, we have been stressing on the concept of right product for right application, because it is not that one type of cement will fulfill all the applications, whether it is infrastructure or residential. So keeping that in mind, we have different types of cement. We have the ordinary Portland cement, we have the Portland Pozzolana cement, we have the Portland slag cement, we have SRC cement and rapid hardening Portland cement. And within these types of cement, we have 12 brands of cement, which is customized to specific concrete application. And the cement is manufactured in 8 state-of-the-art units that includes integrated cement plant and grinding unit. The present capacity is around 16.5 million tons, which is expected to be 20 million tons per annum. Our expansion project, which is going on in Kurnool, that is a green field plant, is coming up over there, an integrated plant. And then we have our grinding unit, which is coming up in the state of Odisha. And our expansion at Kolagat is already over. So with that, we are expected to touch 20 million tons per annum. Apart from manufacturing cements, Ramco is also involved in dry mortar products as well as ready-mix concrete, and we operate one of the largest wind farms in the country. So that is something related to the renewable energy, as all of you would be aware. And we also have a research center at Chennai, the Ramco Research and Development Center, which engages in the testing of cement as well as raw materials for the manufacture of cement and the concrete mix designs. So just a brief overview, because there are some questions on which cement is better for building construction. That's why we manufacture all these types of cement. As you could see, ordinary Portland cement, we have 4 variants of OPC cement, which is specifically meant for infrastructure works. That is in works where, say, for example, if you have to have longer slump retention time in concrete, then one needs to go in for 43 grade infra or 53 grade infra. Then for precast items, we have the rapid hardening Portland cement, the Ramco Super Fast. Then Portland Pozzolana cement is the cement which has to be used for all normal residential buildings, because it gives the advantage of both durability and compressive strength. So within that, we have Ramco Super Grade. Then a special cement for concrete, Ramco Super Crete, which is having a high rate of gain of strength as well as low heat of hydration. So that is the advantage of that. Then we have the Portland slag cement, Ramco Super Steel, Ramco Samudra, which is basically sold in the eastern part of the country. And then we have the sulfate resisting Portland cement, the Ramco Super Coast, which is used in areas where there is high percentage or high concentration of sulfates. So these are the 12 types of cement, and what we normally advise that for building construction is the Portland Pozzolana cement, which is as well as the Portland slag cement. So basically what happens is PPC is widely being used for all the building construction across the country. Some of our few major customers, which I'm not going to go in detail, but just for the benefit of the viewers, L&T, which is using our cement for a variety of concreting works at various sites for concrete, which is exposed to different exposure conditions. ITD Cementation Company, which is also involved in various works, especially ports, infrastructure works, and many construction companies in the eastern part of the country, Haldia Development Authority, and institutions like metro projects like Bangalore Metro, Cochin Metro have approved our brand. And this is just an overview of our research and development center at Chennai, which is on the old Mahabalipuram road, where we are involved in various types of tests, as I was mentioning. And this is the 69th webinar. And if you want to have a look at the earlier webinars, you could always go to our Facebook Live or the YouTube page address, which is given over here. Now coming to the today's speaker, we have architect Senthil Kumar, and I'm sure that Many of you would be interested in knowing the aesthetics of building, because ultimate purpose of having a habitat is to ensure that we are happy with it, because at the end of it we should be happier, and we should have all the facilities. And especially in this pandemic, more emphasis is given on indoor air quality, so that many of these viruses relating to respiratory and other viruses can be taken care about. So I mean, the role of architect is playing a vital role in the construction of buildings. So today's speaker, architect Senthil Kumar, he holds Bachelor of Architecture from School of Architecture and Planning, Anna University, and he is also having Master of Landscape Architecture from School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi. He is the chairman of the Indian Institute of Architects, Tamil Nadu chapter since 2005, and he is also a visiting professor at Anna University. He was the past chairman of Indian Society of Landscape Architects of Tamil Nadu and Puducherry chapter. He is the recipient of Outstanding Landscape Architects Award in 2017. And many of his prestigious projects, he has been involved in projects ranging from hotels to building construction, residential blocks, to landscape development. Some of it which are Hotel Emeraldo at Elagiri, and then many of the IAS, IPS blocks in Chennai, engineering colleges, competitive exam blocks, a law college at VET campus, landscape development, which is a specialization, and Jayanagar Park in Chennai, ITC Welcome Kansas Beach Resort at Mamalapuram, landscape development at National College Trichy, and he was also the consultant for CPCL, Chennai Petrol Corporation Limited. So I'm sure that personality like architect Senthil Kumar, who is having a blend of both practice as well as academics, I'm sure would be able to give us a lot of insights. So we have a combination of questions which we have received from most of the customers, ranging from architectural to civil. So we will be taking each of the questions. But before that, let me invite architect Senthil Kumar just to touch upon the main aspects to be considered before starting construction once the plot is ready, and how can an architect help the owner of a building fulfill his requirement, common layouts that one can consider, and about landscaping. So such topics, I think architect Senthil Kumar would just touch upon it. So I invite you, sir, for taking over, and you can just touch upon this topic so that it would be useful for the viewers, both customers as well as construction professionals. Over to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Anil. Thank you, Mr. Anil.
Thank you. The mic is, I think it is, yeah, now it is unmuted. Yeah.
Now it's audible?
Now it is audible, yes.
I should extremely thank Ramco Cements for giving me this opportunity, Mr. Anil Pillai and Mr. Suraj, to interact with you and to clarify your doubts, or to have this interaction program, and also to share my views on this subject. Mr. Anil Pillai, I mean, like a lot of questions you put forth to me. Do you want me to answer them first and go to the PPT, or what way?
Whichever way you prefer. Would you like me to repeat those questions?
Yeah, you can just ask a question and answer, then you can ask me the next question. That'll be better.
Okay. Well, first is this, like, many of the owners would be willing to know as to what are the main aspects that they should consider before starting construction, say once the plot is ready.
Okay. Once when the plot is ready, I think you'll have to get the approval from the concerned authorities. Yeah, I think now most of the approvals have become online now. Like no more manual things. You have to upload it online, be it a municipality or a corporation or a village or a city. It has to be uploaded only online only. So the approval process, it has to be clearly done. Either you can do it or give it to the architect or the civil engineer who will assist you in getting it done. And the most important aspect is you should not deviate from the approved plan. That is very important. Some people, they have the tendency of getting the approval first and then constructing the plan later, and then going to an architect or civil engineer. They will make the construction later. By doing that, you will be deviating from the initially approved construction approved plan, which will lead to a lot of problems later. Like when you sell the house, or the bank might not give you the loan for the, because you have deviated, the bank might not give you loan, you might not get the completion certificate, a lot of things are there. So what I suggest is, before you start constructing the building in the plot, you make the design very clearly. You make the design what you want. When you can all sit and discuss, the family can sit and discuss and consult the Vastu expert and everyone. Get the whole plan finalized. I'm sure the civil engineer or architect, they won't mind revising the plan 100 times. They won't mind. But once during the construction, you should never change the plan. So the first thing is to get the approval from the concerned authority. Second thing is to get a to go to to appoint a proper civil contractor. Either it can be a labor contract or it can be an itemized contract. You have to appoint a contractor. With the contractor, you can just go ahead and the architect should come and whatever the architect has envisaged, it has to be built to the site as per the drawings and as per the specifications. And then the whole the architect is in charge from the inception to the completion of the project. He has to take full responsibility and see that the plan is not getting deviated. There's no violations in the building, and then the specifications are properly followed. Once when you get a good contractor and a good architect, your problem is totally solved. So these are the steps: approval, and then architect or civil engineer, and then a good contractor. These three will play a major role in this.
Okay, then that is very interesting because, as you rightly said, an effective planning will go a long way in terms of actually ensuring that the project goes on. And there is online facility also, as you rightly mentioned. And I think another very important aspect which you mentioned is that there should be a good coordination between the civil engineer, the architect, as well as the client's requirement. Yes. I think that is very important. What are some of the common stumbling blocks that one foresees? Say for example, you did all the planning and all that, but there could be some of the common stumbling blocks that are there while executing a project. And how do you think one can go about solving that?
Stumbling blocks might happen if you don't have sufficient funds. The most important aspect is the funds. If you should be able to envisage the project cost correctly, which will be given by the civil engineer or by the architect, and then you should plan for your resources at one time. Then halfway through, if you get stuck due to lack of finances, then the project is going to be affected, and the contractor will not wait. You cannot tell the contractor that I don't have funds, so you stop the building for 2 months, 3 months. After I get the funds, I will call you. It doesn't work. The work has to be completed at one go by the contractor. Only then it will be workable for him. So first is the funds. Second thing is you have to choose a good contractor. Always I see that initially the contractor gives a quote. She gives a quote, and during the process of construction, materials prices may go up. Escalation will be there. Then you'll say steel prices are gone up, cement prices have gone up. So unless you give me that that increase in the cost, I will not be able to continue the project. Or the client himself might make some changes in the building. He might he will say, I want to demolish this wall. I want to have an additional loft. I want to have a lot of additions will come in the building. If it comes, then the cost is likely to vary, where there will be a dispute between the contractor and then the client. That's why I told you, initially itself, all the planning aspects will have to be finalized before you go into the construction. And then not all the contractors, some contractors, they have the habit of adding a lot of extra things. Initially, they won't tell the full cost of the project. They will just say some amount, square foot area into 2,000 rupees. Say 2,000 square feet into 2,000 rupees is 40 lakhs. Project cost, you'd say. Then a lot of add-ons will come. The compound wall is extra, septic tank is extra, overhead tank is extra, weathering course is extra, and then if you increase the height, sometimes the building height you'll have to increase. In low-lying areas, if you want to construct, the building height will be increased. If you increase the height, then the cost will be extra. The door height is normally 7 feet. The ceiling height is 10 feet. If you want to have 11 feet, then the cost will increase. So a lot of these aspects will have to be resolved in the initial. I suggest the customers to tell the contractor that what is the ballpoint figure. I cannot afford anything more than that. If it's you should not say anything extra after this. You tell me the including everything, including compound wall, all the construction aspects. You should tell me. Only then I'll be able to. Otherwise, it becomes an extra affair, and many clients they get stuck up. Apart from that, you'll have to plan for the money you have to pay for the EB, then water supply and drainage, and then like a lot of other unforeseen things are there. Before you move into the building, a lot of other expenses are there, which you will also have to take into account. And sometimes the materials what you specified might not be available in the market, and the contractor will go for an alternative material, and there might be some dispute. For example, if you suggested cements like Ramco cement, something Ramco cement, the contractor might say that Ramco is not available in the market, so I'm getting the other type of cement. So, like these things have to be a good understanding has to be there between the contractor and the client. That is why I always tell you, you see the performance guarantee of the contractor. He has to be highly reliable, a trustworthy person to whom you are to entrust your work. Otherwise, life will become miserable.
Thank you so much. In fact, I think one has to pay so much attention to the selection of the contractor himself, because that would play long, that will go a long way in ensuring that we have a peaceful life, especially during the construction schedule and all that. Being a specialist in landscape architecture, because that is, I think, one of the favorite that you have. What do you think is the role of landscaping in buildings? So there are so much major buildings coming up, and there is always this talk of preserving the terrain, while we constructing a building, or otherwise ensuring that we have more of greenery. So, what do you think? The role of landscape in architecture. Can you throw some light on that?
Yeah, clean. Again, like whenever you construct a building in a plot, you're going to destroy the trees. You're going to destroy the natural, like the natural habitat which is existing there. You totally demolish, you totally destroy all those things, and then you come up with a building. So, in order to compensate the nature what you have destroyed, you again have to bring in nature. That is the concept of landscape. Or in a huge area where you design the buildings, nature has to be respected first. So you should identify the areas, what are the potential areas for development, what are the areas which are not suitable for development. We call it a site plan. A good site plan will always like respect nature. That is in a broader master plan or in a campus planning. But whereas in small residences and all, terrace is a very good place. Terrace, because like nowadays, except for the big bungalows and farmhouses, yeah, an ordinary person cannot afford to have a big garden. After all, he's constructing in a one-ground plot or half-ground plot. I'm telling about inside the cities. So whereas the terrace gives ample potential to go for a roof garden, like which can be exploited very well. You get good sunlight where you can grow vegetables, where you can grow your own, like fruits, plus also puja flowers, like plus like medicinal herbs. In this COVID time, in fact, you can have this karpuravalli, tulasi, like lot of medicinal herbs are there, which are very good for health, and you can also go for walking. The terrace becomes a very good space for you for walking, to do yoga, to get to inhale the natural oxygen from in the morning. You can do Surya Namaskar. Go, like the terrace can be very well utilized, provided, but you should carefully plan that all your plumbing lines they don't interfere in they should be taken along the parapet walls, the placement of your overhead tank, the placement of your lift headroom. All those things should not disturb. You should plan it accordingly. And I don't believe in a very highly landscaped terrace where you landscape it and eventually you don't have space for walking and doing, like it has to be a multi-purpose space. And landscape will not cost much. Only thing you have to take into account in landscape is the terrace has to be completely waterproofed. If you don't adequately waterproof, and if you have the plants and if you do landscaping, there might be a possibility of water seeping inside and spoiling your concrete. Second thing is it has to take the load of the roof garden. That is also important. So when you plan the terrace, you can tell the structural engineer that I might go for a terrace garden, and the slab should be able to take the load. So the load aspect and then waterproofing aspect, those two has to be considered initially, and everyone can have a terrace garden according to their budget. Even from 10,000 rupees onwards, you can make a terrace garden. 10,000, 1 lakh, 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs, actually. So budget is not a constraint at all. Whatever you want. And every day morning when you go and see the flowers, the terrace, and this thing is a good exercise for you also, for patients, for diabetes patients going to the terrace, and they water the plants, and unknowingly, like it's a good exercise for them. The exercise for them, and I'll show you some of the slides what you have done. It will be easy. Next question.
Yeah, that's, I think, shall we go to the civil aspect, or would you be showing the landscape projects of yours, the projects where you have executed?
Yeah, I think we can show the civil aspect, discuss about civil aspect.
Okay. Now,
Then,
some of the civil aspects, some of the questions that has been asked, let me just put it on the screen also, so that, we all are clear. I'll just put it. Yeah. Some of the good construction practices that needs to be followed to ensure quality construction is one of the questions. Some of the good construction practices. Would you like to add some point, or shall I show some slides regarding that?
yeah, you can show some slides.
Yeah, because some of the good construction practices that needs to be followed. Let us have some kind of. Say, for example, I think one of the most important thing is that many of the customers would go in for concreting. So while concreting, I think a good plan is essential, right from batching. Batching means how are we going to mix, whether it is in terms of volume or weight. Then mixing, whether we have an adequate mixer machine at site, and how are we going to transport the concrete, and how are we going to place the concrete, and compaction and curing. Because quality control is the most important aspect, as we all know, in concrete construction. And without quality control, I think you cannot make a good quality concrete. And many of these problems, like say, for example, leakages, can be avoided if you are doing a very good compaction along with a very good quality concrete, as well as curing is very essential. I would just like to, since most of them are, some of them are customers, to understand the various sizes of aggregates, which is very important. Like say, for example, this typical sweets that we have in South India, this first sweet where you have the kadla mutai, where you have only the coarse aggregate, and you have only the fine aggregate. So a combination of coarse and fine aggregate is what we need for a good quality concrete. Like say, for example, in the first picture, you could see this one, you would see that there are almost only coarse, and here there is fine. What happens if we combine this coarse as well as fine aggregate? That is where the role of 10 mm, 20 mm aggregate and sand comes into play. So when we are able to mix both of them, we get a good quality concrete. And another thing is that water cement ratio. Say, for example, you buy the best quality cement, you have the best quality sand, you have the best quality aggregate. But if your cohesion is not good, say, for example, if you take a typical floor like this, and if the consistency is not good, I think your output would not be good at all. So it is very important that we pay attention to the quantity of water that is being added and have a very good water cement ratio. Another thing is that when we talk about batching, placing, compaction, curing, that means all the steps have to be followed if you have to have a good quality concrete. Similar to how we make a chapati, you got to have the best quality flour. You got to mix it in such a way that there is no excess water, and then while making it, you should need to ensure that it comes out very well. So similar is the case with concrete as well. So those are the things, I think, some of the good quality construction practices which one must follow to make a good quality concrete. Pay attention to all that, and then you may not have to go in for repair of cracks. Cracks will not occur if your water cement ratio is good and if you're able to do an effective curing. So hairline cracks will not occur, which are very important for that. So anything that you would like to add on this?
yeah.
You would like to add some points on this good construction practices, something
Yeah,
which
yeah.
you, yeah.
The good context, but like all the points what he told is very important. And the client will not have the time to go to the site and then to check all these things. So, yeah, site engineer has to be appointed. Normally, the civil contractor who undertakes a job, he has to have a site engineer. He has to have a site engineer at site. These labor contractors, they will not have site engineers. So it becomes a big headache. So you always give it to a contractor who can afford to have his own site engineer who will come to the site, because you cannot expect the contractor to come and stand there full time and see the quality of construction. So the site engineer job is a must. Site engineer has to be for the small works, the contractor himself can appoint the site engineer. For the big works, the client has to appoint the site engineer. So it is a site engineer's job to check all the quality of works and report to the architect and report to the architect or civil engineer and or the structural engineer. For example, after concreting, how the concrete quality has come. If there any, normally we see cracks happening in the ready mix concrete. So if cracks are happening, what is the reason for that? All these things should be observed and reported to the structural engineer, for which he'll give the remedies. So the site engineer plays a very important role in all the sites. Yeah.
That's what some of the questions that has been asked. I think already it has been answered. Some shrinkage cracks happen at slab even during winter season. Why? Because many a times I think excess water cement ratio is also being used. Like say for example, if we have a very highly flowable concrete and we do not do the curing, then I think shrinkage cracks will occur. So that and as rightly pointed out by architect Senthil Kumar, we must be having a very good civil engineer who would be able to supervise that. And which cement should I use for concrete? If you are using it for building construction, I would recommend you go for blended cement. But if ready mix concrete, normally use ordinary Portland cement because they have a separate blending material which they are able to procure. But at site, we are not able to mix blending material along with cement. And the role of blending material is that you will be getting a low heat of hydration and a enhanced durability. Is there any different type of cement for foundation concrete? I think for all concrete, if it is M20, M25 grade, it all depends on the mix design or the mix proportion that one is using. So why color varies? Actually, there is one question regarding cement. I think the color of the cement varies from dark gray to light gray. There is no standard color that is prescribed in the test certificate also, because test certificate talks about setting time of cement, compressive strength of cement, fineness of cement. It does not talk about color. So you don't have to worry about the color of the cement. It is not an index to quality. That is very important that we need to. And why cracks occur in brick wall after plastering? I think this is one important question. Again, we have already answered, but just to be specific over here, I think bricks has to be soaked before using. Otherwise, what will happen is that brick will absorb water from plastering, and if the plastered surface is not cured properly, you will have this hairline cracks. Which grading is suitable, sand cement grading or sand cement and aggregate grading? I think sand cement grading is used for plastering, sand cement and aggregate is used for concrete, as simple as that. So if roof cracks are there, we repair it, but it lasts for a short period of time. Need idea for long lasting method. I think as we should ensure that the concreting is done in such a way that no cracks occur, because prevention is better than cure. But if cracks occur, then it has to be done by a professional, so that you open it up and then you have some kind of compounds put in that. But it is always better to take preventive measures to avoid hairline cracks. So what are some common causes for dampness and leakage? I think dampness and leakage occurs because of inadequate compaction. So compaction during concreting is very important, and we need to pay more attention to that. Impact of plumbing lines in terms of dampness in sunken areas. I think we need to plan the plumbing lines in such a way, especially the speaker has also stressed on the importance of having a very effective plumbing lines. Even in the terrace also, we need to plan it in such a way that you don't have much leakages and all that. So these are some of the questions I think we have been able to take care. Anything that you would like to add on this, architect sir? On these questions, anything you would like to?
Yeah, like most of them are related to structural aspects. So the structural engineer also plays a very important role in the buildings, and you should make sure that the structural engineer visits the site at the time of concreting. He has to come and check the reinforcement, like before concreting, whether the reinforcements are done as per his drawing, as per his requirements. If anything has to be redone, it has to be redone, and then he'll give instructions. During concreting also, we have to follow the structural engineer's instruction, and he plays a very important role. So without the structural engineer, you should not construct a building. Sometimes the masons will say, sir, this reinforcement is enough for the column. We'll put 4 number 20 mm for the slab. You have to have a structural engineer depending upon the soil condition. So the soil testing is also very important. Depending upon the soil testing, the type of soil, your structure will be calculated. And the structural engineer role plays a very important role, and you can save enormous cost on the building. If you go through unorganized professionals, they will put as a thumb rule, they'll put the reinforcements, and the cost will become high. you go through a profession like a structural engineer, then you can economize on the cost, and the building safety also will be done. The safety, nowadays, earthquake resistant buildings are a must. As per the code, IS code, your buildings are to be designed, the columns are to be designed to undertake to withstand the earthquake. So all these aspects have to be considered while designing the foundation and all the structural aspects of the building. And these, that's it.
So I think what is very important is structural drawing is also important along with architectural drawing. That is very important. And as rightly pointed out, I think most of this problem which has been mentioned here can be sorted out if we are planning it properly and we are going through a professional. Like say for example, patches on plastered surface happens, because patches or cracks, plastering has to be done very professionally. The right kind of mixed proportion has to be used, whether it is for ceiling plaster or wall plaster. Say for example, ceiling plaster has to be slightly rich. Sometimes they use 1:3. Wall plaster, they go for a leaner mix. And we also need to ensure, like say for example, in AAC block or in brick wall, we have to ensure that the blocks are sufficiently moistened. Otherwise, dry blocks will always have the tendency to absorb moisture from the plastered surface. And that is why you will find that many a times hairline cracks appear on the plastered surface. During slab casting, there are a number of electrical cables that are meeting at one place in the slab. Is there any problem in that? I think the thing is that whether it is electrical cables or whether it is plumbing line going into the beams and all is very harmful, because beams and the columns and slabs are structural members. They are supposed to take loads, and if we drill a hole into that, it has to be done only with the recommendation of the structural engineer, because the structural engineer would have designed assuming some load for all these structural elements. After slab casting, some minor cracks occur on the surface of slab. What is the reason behind this? It is nothing but inadequate curing, and as much as possible, please avoid usage of fine sand and do the mix proportions properly. So these are some of the, and what about the problems on concrete leaching and shrinkage cracks? Leaching is the white deposits that come on concrete surface. So if you're not compacting the concrete, if you're using a cement with high heat of hydration, so that is why we recommend blended cements like Portland Pozzolana cement has to be used to decrease leaching problems. So these are some of the answers to the questions which are there. Anything that you would like to add on this?
I think you have clearly explained on these things. We will go to the next.
Yeah, so these are some of the questions. I think now you can show the projects that you are having. So we have almost covered, and you can carry on with your presentation.
I'll try to show some of the projects.
I think you will be, yes, please. You can share your screen there, then I will come back to this. Some of the projects executed by you, that would be an eye opener for all of us to see how we can.
Yeah, I think from the design perspective, these are some of the 10 elements what we can consider when one designs a building. Always you should involve nature in the building. Nature has to be a part. Whenever you design a building, you have to bring nature into your building. Then only your building will become timeless. In this thing, and you should just show some of this thing. This is my residence in at Manapakam. You can see the solids and voids. You can see the. Are you able to see my
Yes,
my
yeah,
mouse?
yeah. Yes.
So this is this is the eastern side. Always we should allow the eastern side to fall in the building. So that's why the building has got, this is the master bedroom. It has got a stagger, and the dining has got a stagger, and then the living has got a stagger. So the eastern sunlight will fall in the kitchen, which is very good, which will kill all the germs, and then eastern sunlight will fall in the dining. Eastern sunlight will fall in the master bedroom. As per Vastu, they say that master bedroom should be there in the southwest corner. From the southwest corner, having the bedroom in the southwest corner, how do you bring the eastern sunlight? That's a challenge. If you just stagger it, you get the eastern sunlight. You have a bedroom in the southwest corner. So, and there's a big landscape. See, here we are able to, there's a huge beam, without any, the only 2 columns for 36 feet span. We can accommodate 4 cars can go inside comfortably. There are no columns in between, and the slab has been sunken. The slab has been sunken. On the top, we are able to accommodate a roof garden in the first floor. You can see the landscape here, which is occurring here. So, and the sunlight comes to the pergolas. So, nature has to be integrated in the building wherever possible. And you can see the light coming into the building. By having a skylight and by having a French window, the quality of light which enters into the building keeps on varying. This is early morning 5 o'clock, then after 6 o'clock, then this is in the morning 10 o'clock, this is in the afternoon. So the quality of light which comes into the building keeps on varying, and you don't know, and you don't have to depend upon the artificial light also. As far as possible, you should never switch on the lights in the daytime in your house. That's a good design. Even so, you should have natural ventilation also. You should consider into account all those things. See here, this is the hotel we did in Yelagiri. The entire thing, the external lighting, which is only we have gone through we have used the LED lights. So the total the power consumption is very low here. This is and again we have a lot of terrace gardens. And the space utilization is one of the most important thing. The same hotel, when you see the planning, there is not even a single square foot wastage of space. Even like the corridor goes and then it ends in a staircase, all the rooms here. So in a very small area, the efficiency of planning is most important, the plan has to be fine tuned. A lot of time can go into the planning. During construction, nothing should be changed. Again, for good ventilation, we have like this sort of jalis, which also gives privacy. This allow the wind to come into your rooms. Same time, this also gives you privacy also. Like a lot of the jalis are being used in Indonesia, and this gives a very nice lighting effect during daytime when you see the light. Especially in the walls which are facing west and south, to avoid glare, you can have this. This again is school project. What we have done. School means we go for the bright colors. Always in school, you should remember that school will be constructed in phases. The elevation cannot be attained in only one stage. First year they'll construct something. Second year they'll construct something. Third year they'll construct. So the building has to be envisaged in parts. When you design the elevation, you design the elevation only for the first year. Then again it has to be built for the second year, third year. So it has to be built in components. So that is the message what I'm trying to tell here. Nowadays we see a lot of these sort of glazed buildings, alco bond, and then glazings which have no character. You like initially, when you see a building in Kerala, you can say that building belongs to Kerala only, because they'll have typical Kerala architecture, like large overhangs to cut the rain coming into the building, and then for ventilation, like that, but nowadays this universal, what we call it as a modern trend, has come, in which throughout India the same style has been followed, which maybe we are getting influenced by the Western era, but which is not a good trend. And what is the life of these buildings? What is the life of this external cladding? And what is the life of this glass? Hardly 5 years or 10 years, something like that. But then just to make a show, people are doing this, and this has to change. Your building should be responsible to the local climatic conditions and depending upon the locally available materials and using the locally available masons and skilled laborers. That's how the building has to be designed. See, this amphitheater, what we designed at National College Trichy, we use the bricks from Kerala. So the amphitheater has been designed like a musical instrument. This is like a piano, and the amphitheater is also designed like a flute. The flute will have 7 holes, 6 holes continuously, and the 7th hole will be there in the last. When you see it clearly, you can just understand. So, like whenever you design a particular place in a public area, you can have a theme. The theme will add value to. Here, the music is a theme, like the piano type stage, and then flute type tiers using all natural materials. So this plays a important role. This is again the ITC Welcome Resort in the ECR. You should not cut the trees. Maximum, you should try to fit in the requirements in the site, taking into account all the existing trees. That's one of the most important aspect which you have to consider when you plan the building. See the lobby also. Lobby is not air conditioned. When you enter into the lobby, lobby is fully open because the Bay of Bengal is here. And the breeze will flow through the. It will have a tunnel effect. You don't require any fans, no artificial light, nothing. Only in the night time you'll be requiring. So the lobby is like only the side walls and the roof is covered. The entire we are trying to borrow nature. This is one of the important aspects. Yeah, like whatever nature is outside, you try to borrow the nature into your building, which becomes a. You will not know where the lobby is starting, where the lobby is ending. It merges into the nature. This is Anna University. Anna University, the Anna statue. This is the main building of Anna University. This is Anna statue. How we have done the landscaping, which again complements the main building. Nothing is about the like the same statement is there. This is the law college what we did in near Dindivanam. This is the college. We like here also the theme was the lawyers wear black coat and then like white and white inside. So the building color was black and white combination. Black and white combination. This is how the building was envisaged. But after building, the building belonged to a political party, so they had their own color choice. So it was made like that. And after the completion of the building, here the landscaping completely takes over the building. This again the this IAS and IPS block in the same campus. Same campus. See, you can see the mossing of the building. There are no ornamental elements, like the building form itself, except for the pergolas. The pergolas tie the building, and then the use of materials is also the cladding is made of concrete tiles, cement concrete tiles, like designer tiles. These are the roof gardens. What I'm trying to tell you. But like someone asked a question in one of the questions I saw in the chat box, whether we can go for a lawn. Lawn is very difficult to maintain in a residential building because you have to sink the slab. You have to have a depth of minimum 12 inches or 1 foot to accommodate the soil. Like bottom, you will have to accommodate the filtration layers, then the filter bed, then the drainage cells, then the mat, and then the soil, then the lawn. So this will take nearly 1 foot depth, heavy load onto the roof slab, and in rainy time it will become even more heavy. Soil will absorb the water, then the load on the slab will be much more. It is very easy to go for a astroturf. This is a synthetic lawn, but you can conduct parties, you can put chairs, you can put the dining table there. But whereas in the natural lawn, it's not possible. Natural lawn, if you put a chair, if you sit on it, then the chair will go down due to the weight. No, it'll create holes there. So I prefer this sort of astroturf, and then all the planter boxes can have your natural plants everywhere. This is very easy aspect. And then these are the pergolas, some seatings below. You can have the creepers on top. See, these are the creepers and some seatings there and natural elements. Some of the granite stones. This is another point in Tiruchengodu. Always we recommend, this is a huge bangla, we recommend to use the naturally available materials. Tiruchengodu is very famous for the stones. Lot of stones are available there. So we got the stones, even the driveway you can just see. In the bottom, there's a driveway. Instead of going for the interlocking paver blocks or concrete driveway, we got all the stones. We differentiated the stones. That is like the stones which are slightly darker in color, stones which are lighter in color. Then the stones are dressed there and made as a driveway. So see, even this also, all the stones are locally available there. We got it from the site itself. Then we dressed the stones. We made this fireplace, even the koi fish pond. So you have to be using, like for example, in Kerala, laterite is available in plenty. So they use a lot of laterite blocks in the building construction. In Tamil Nadu, near Madurai and all, again you have a lot of this granite stones. So those stones, whatever material is available locally to you, you can use the locally available labors and then use the skill and make the building construction and then other elements. So that will be more apt. See, here in this project, we had an existing well in the site. The well was not closed. The well was because they wanted to and then just reminiscent of the past where we used to have the pulley and all, where we used to have this thing. So the well was made as a outdoor table where you can keep your things and chairs. So instead of closing a well, the well was converted into a particular element. And then again a Buddha statue here. These are like whatever landscaping like we can do.
That was a very interesting presentation on how you incorporated nature, uh, into the construction of building. Because as we all know, today sustainability and green building is the order of the day, where we need to ensure that outside light is being used inside the building as much as possible, and then we ensure that the building consumes lesser energy, because after all, energy consumption is one of the most important things, as well as water conservation. I think all this goes a long way in making the building sustainable, and that is what I think one of the questions that is also being asked: what do you mean by green building? I think this is what green building is all about. When we are able to incorporate all that, the functionality, elements of nature, and if you are able to do that, and I'm sure that with your expertise, especially during COVID time, I think we need to avoid the usage of air condition as much as possible. That is the message that is being given. So how do we ensure that outside air and ventilation is being followed? I think that is a very interesting phenomenon that is going to happen in the coming days, I believe.
Yeah.
And you have already implemented in most of your projects. That's very interesting.
You have to have cross ventilation.
Cross ventilation, that is very important. Yeah. So let me just show some of the presentation on. There are some questions on which sand is better and all that. So let me just show some presentation on that. Suraj, can you just convert that? Yeah. As to, there is a question on which is better, whether M sand is better or river sand is better, because that kind of question is always coming in the mind of the construction professionals. Just before I go to the other thing, just a comparison of why curing is important. On the left hand side, you can see this mud which is cracked because of chip drying of the surface. So that is the reason why this plastic shrinkage crack is occurring. So this we need to keep in mind, the importance of curing. So when a mud itself can get this kind of problem, I think you can understand what is the kind of problem when we don't do proper curing. Let me go to the, because there is this question of which is better, river sand is better or M sand is better. As all of us know, in many of the places the river sand mining is stopped. So if you are able to get a better sand which is having say for example, if below 75 micron fineness is say for example it is given clay and organic impurities, if it is almost equivalent to 0 in M sand, whereas in case of river sand it is higher. So this kind of parameters have to be kept in mind. As all of us know, river sand is naturally available on river banks. M sand is manufactured, and quality, there is no control because it is coming from the natural sources. Here it can be made consistent quality. Now it depends on the supplier from where you are taking, because at times you will find that there are fine materials, say for example below 75 micron. If dust is higher, then it can create problem in concrete. So we need to look at the sizes of the sand and if dust is minimized or not. And as you could see, workability is better in river sand, and in river this also can be, we can adjust the mix proportion based on this. Strength we have seen. In fact, we have done a lot of mixed proportion using our Ramco Supercrete along with M sand, and we have seen that the compatibility is good. And many of the concrete structures nowadays, they are going in for M sand. So there is no question of asking which sand is better. I think as long as we are able to, as I was showing that suite in the earlier, if you are able to ensure that the sizes, the gradation of sand and gradation of post aggregate, both are combined properly, then I think there should not be any problem. That is what, at our research center we have done for concrete grades of M20 and higher. We have done using manufactured sand, and we have seen that the compressive strength, the workability, and all are of good quality, of the required parameters is we are able to get it. So we have been able to do that in our research center. One most important thing is that somebody was asking about the quality of construction material. I think it's always better that you ask the supplier or the manufacturer to give a test certificate. Now, in case of concrete, only you can get test certificate for cement. But what about the quality of other ingredients? So we need to look at the quality of sand as well as aggregate also, so that you can make a good quality concrete. Now here you can see, just to give a brief overview of the cement, in the cement test certificate you will be given the fineness of cement, normal consistency. Fineness is what is very important for hydration of cement, because cement reacts with water to form this products and all that. Then you will have initial setting time, final setting time, then soundness of cement, which is related to durability. Compressive strength is given 3 days, 7 days, 28 days, which has to be looked into, and the chemical requirements of that. And this is very important from the durability perspective. So you have all these parameters. So before you use the cement, always insist on manufacturer's test certificate, so that you get a better idea of what kind of this thing is you are taking. Now, in our this thing, we have been giving Ramco Supercrete for concreting application, which is a Portland Pozzolan cement, which is having a high rate of compressive strength, adequate fineness, low heat of hydration, as I was telling, controlled particle size distribution, which gives you an impermeable concrete. And what is important is, nowadays, if you look at the codal specification also, more of it is they are stressing on the durability aspect. Like, say, for example, IS 456, they're talking about sulfate attack, they're talking about chloride attack, underground works and all need to have this durability parameters. And we have our civil engineers also from Ramco Cements, who are stationed at different places in the country, and we can always get help from them in ensuring that the concrete is of good quality. Because what we do is that we give technical services to help small project sites to measure the workability of concrete using slum cone tests. Say, for example, slum cone test can be used to measure the workability. By that, you can always sensitize the concrete making person to control the water cement ratio. You can take concrete cubes, get it tested at the nearby testing laboratory. So all this, I think, would be very beneficial for you, the services that we are offering at Ramco Cements. Now, let us take some of the questions from the chat box also, before I think most of the other questions we have been able to cover. Just a brief overview of what you should do, what all precautions you should take while storing cement, because this is one of the point that many of the customers do not pay much attention to, especially in monsoon season. Please ensure that cement is protected from moisture. It's not only water, it is even moisture, which is moisture laden air. So we need to have floor which is dry, weatherproof sheds, and do not store cement in the open, especially during monsoon season, because that will get hydrated and you will not get the full benefit of the cement. And the height of the stack, because sometimes what we have seen is that cement bags are stocked, stacked in more than 15, 20, 25 bags and all that, due to which your lower bags will get hydrated. So these are all some of the things that we need to keep in mind. Avoid air circulation. This is the basic this thing as to how cracks can be avoided. Just to summarize the discussion about why does cracks occur. On one left side, we are given the cause of cracks in concrete, because volume change, loss of water from concrete, settlement of structure is very important. So we need to ensure that the structures are in places where you don't have clayey soil, and if there is a soil which is behaving erratically, I think you need to have suitable foundation for that. Maybe pile foundation, maybe raft foundation, whatever it is, it has to be designed according to that, because sometimes settlement can lead to structural cracks. Higher water cement ratio can be a cause for that. Formwork movement, sometimes shuttering and gullies can settle, because of which there can be cracks. So these are the prevention methods, controlling water cement ratio, proper concrete mix design, proper finishing techniques. Avoid overworking or over vibrating the concrete, because the slurry comes to the top, and if you are doing it during a hot summer season, you will get shrinkage cracks. Proper curing of concrete. It shall not be subjected to load during the curing period. This is very important. Adequate vibration. Some of the places you don't have even needle vibrator. Compaction is being done using those reinforcement rod, which is not correct. And proper compaction of soil is advised to prevent settlement crack. So settlement crack needs to be given much attention to. So this is what, again, overall building, if you are going to construct, just to summarize this, as our speaker was also insisting that before we go off with the construction, we need to ensure proper approval is obtained from the local authorities. Preparation of drawing is very important. Estimation of material cost, labor cost, contingency is very important. Otherwise, what will happen is that there could be disruption in the work. So city development authorities, whatever the local this thing is there, we need to follow. And in this age, we have this online approval process is there. So these are some of the points that we wanted to summarize, and I am sure that this would help you in making a building which is durable, which is of good quality, which which is having a longer life, because that is very important. So let us take some of the questions from the this thing. Regarding carpet area, there is a question. Would you like to take that? He wants to know what the carpet area is.
Yeah. What are the questions?
What do you mean by carpet area? And what is the difference between plinth area and carpet area?
Yeah, actually, to tell you in a very simple way, where, like what are all the areas you'll be able to lay the carpet? That is carpet area. For example, if a wall is there, you cannot lay a carpet. So the floor area where all you can lay carpet is called carpet area. So the floor area plus the wall area is the plinth area. Is the plinth area in the ground floor. As simple as this.
Very simple. I think you have put it very simply based on this thing. So that is very useful for all of them. What is the minimum grade of concrete to be used in PCC and RCC? I think RCC, as of now in IS 456, they are telling RCC you have to use M20 grade of concrete. And if based on the exposure condition, the grade of concrete will increase. Like say, for example, if you are going to construct a building near marine areas, then I think you should go for M25 or M30. Otherwise, normally RCC M20 grade of concrete is sufficient. For PCC as such, M10 grade of concrete is sufficient for plain cement concrete. So those are the answers to that question. Which sand is better for construction, M sand or river sand? We have already taken that. Any practical related Vastu Shastra for planning in general? Can you give some general Vastu Shastra points?
Actually, the Vastu Shastra points, it keeps on varying. If you go to Kerala, then they tell something different. If you come to Tamil Nadu, then they tell something different. In Andhra, something different is there. So it varies from place to place, but general criteria is north and east has to be lower, south and west has to be higher. Because like the sunlight comes from the east. Sunlight, the eastern sunlight is very good for your building. So you should leave more open space in the east. Western sunlight is very harsh. Western sunlight is very harsh and not good for your health. So there can be less space in the west, and the height can be more in the south and west, and less in the north and east. When the height is, then you will get good sunlight coming in. That is one of the main. This is the basic principle of any Vastu Shastra. South and west has to be tall, north and east has to be low. Following the same principle, you have to keep your staircase lift and all in the tall portions. In the north and east portions, you can have a water sump, you can have a bore well, like whatever goes underground, more open space, your Tulsi modem, your puja room, all these things can come in there. So this is the basic fundamental principle of Vastu. Then again, they have a lot of other intricacies which you have to. And southwest corner has to be at right angle, and the northeast corner can be extended. Northeast can be extended. Your room can be northeast should never be cut. I don't believe in all these things, but then they say that when the northeast is cut, then there'll be a problem to the elder son of the house. So that is even the son's bedroom, they will give it in the northwest. The daughter bedroom, they'll give it in the northeast. Yeah, your daughter is going to get married, and she's going to, and once when she's married, she belongs to the other house. So she can stay in the northeast. But whereas the master bedroom is always the southwest, where the father and mother will stay. Son will stay in the northwest bedroom, never in the northeast bedroom. So these are some of the basic, and kitchen should come in the southeast. Master bedroom in southwest, kitchen in southeast, all the tall elements towards the south and west, all the more open space and water elements in the north and east. These are the Vastu main principles. The fine tuning will be given by the Vastu consultant. Yeah.
I think that is fairly enough, because as you rightly said, depending on the state, the practices also vary. One question which has come is, what is the difference between OPC cement and PPC cement? As I was telling, ordinary Portland cement is nothing but 43-53 grade, which is normally used for infrastructure works when there is a blending material available for blending it at site. PPC cement is nothing but Portland Pozzolan cement, which is what is being used for normal building construction, as I was showing the different types of cement. And PPC cement is the advantage of having low heat of hydration, low leaching, a higher durability. So these are some of the advantages that you will get by using PPC cement. And I think most of the other questions we have taken care of. There was one more question about construction of building near river bank areas. You know, uh, what all precautions one must follow if you are constructing a building near river bank. So that is something. Would you like to add something on that?
Yeah, near the river bank, first of all, you have to get permission. I think there's a lot of restriction. You cannot construct on the river banks. The rule is there. Near the water bodies or near the natural resources. Like this, what happened in Kerala. No, in Kerala, they are near the river. They constructed the building without any. They didn't follow the CRZ regulations. So, but if you are able to, but if there's a road between the river bank, if there's a public road, then you can construct the buildings on the other side. I think that's one of the. If there's any public road between the river and then the colony and the place where you're going to construct, then there should be a road there that you can construct. So if you are able to, the first thing is getting the approval whether you can construct the building or not. After you get the approval, the most important thing is the river flooding. What we call it as the mean flood level. What is the maximum flood level? The MFL, maximum flood level. It will come and it will occur once in 20 years or once in 15 years. So at that time, up to what height the river has flooded, that should be a plinth level. So you will have to raise the building. You have to raise the building. If it is not possible, then you can go for a stilt floor. Stilt floor where you don't live, where you have only storeroom, then you have all your car parking. You can construct your house in the first floor and second floor. So the maximum flood level is the most important criteria where you will have to consider when you construct a house near the river bank, plus also the soil conditions. Soil, how the soil there, and the foundation has to be, the foundation has to be really strong enough to take the pressure of the water in case of flood. You cannot, that's one of the most important aspect. But otherwise, these two are the main things which you have to consider in the river sites.
I think that is a very important point because while as much as possible, I think approval will not be obtained when you construct a building near because of the dangers involved in that.
Yes.
So I think there is some specified distance based on the local authorities and all that. They would be having some specified distance that the building should be within this much distance from the river and all. So yeah. I think that was very important. Another question which was asked through email was that should we use site mixed concrete or ready mixed concrete? What is your take on that while constructing a house?
Normally, site mixed in my experience, I have seen normally in a small residences and all, there's only site mixed concrete in small buildings. But whereas in IT buildings where the area is huge, where where the slab they'll have to pour the concrete in huge areas, it's not possible to leave the gap and go. So they prefer ready mixed concrete where the whole the huge areas can be done at one instant. Or in some of the areas where in Georgetown and all, where the lanes are very narrow, highly traffic areas, they can come only night time only. For example, in Tinagar and all, heavy commercial area, they cannot bring the vehicles will not be allowed in the daytime. So during the night time, the narrow lanes and all is very easy for the ready mix concrete. They can just complete concreting very easily. And one more problem is our labor contractors. Our labor contract to do the ready mix concrete, your shuttering and then your centering has to be properly made. But these local contractors, they will have only wooden shuttering, some wooden cashew nut poles and other things. So they will not be confident in using the ready mix concrete. But generally, ready mix concrete is gaining importance, and it will be replacing all the major buildings. They use only RMC only.
I think one has to be very careful while using ready mix or site mix concrete. While using ready mix concrete, there is one more point which I would like to add is that we need to see that this shuttering and formwork is much stronger when we are using that, because that is very important. We need to pay attention to that. And that's it. I think most of the points we have covered. Just to give a brief overview, we must not jump to the conclusion that compaction, that dampness or leakage is occurring because of the construction material. Dampness and leakage is more due to the construction practices And we can avoid this dampness leakage by having a controlled water cement ratio and proper compaction. As well as the second important challenge, and most of the questions which has come is regarding cracks, whether it is plastering crack, structural crack, concreting crack. I think there is a, all of you would be aware that there is a separate code itself. I do not know how many of them are aware about a separate code, especially the customers. I do not know whether they would be aware that there is a separate code which is published by BIS regarding cracks itself. You know how to take care of the various cracks that occur in buildings. Because, say for example, I'll just show you the copy of that. This particular IS code, no? You're able to see that? No. Let me just share that. Now, this can be purchased by the civil engineers. This is published by Bureau of Indian Standard. It talks about handbook on causes and prevention of cracks in buildings. And I think if you take this, I think most of the cracks that are occurring in building, you will get an overview of this. And this is also available online. If you go to the Bureau of Indian Standards website itself, it is being given free of cost online itself. So if you want to take this thing, say for example, there was a question on cracks in parapet walls. See, you will find that different types of cracks which are occurring is mentioned clearly here. Why does horizontal crack occur and how it can be avoided? So the details of this is mentioned in the separate code itself. Say for example, this kind of cracks, horizontal crack at the support of brick cum iron railing over an RCC cantilevered roof slab due to differential shrinkage and thermal movement. So this has to be avoided in certain cases. Let me go to page number 55 and 56 of this code, because some of them were asking about cracks in parapet walls. And you will find that this is mentioned in the code itself. So I would request all the customers as well as construction professionals who have logged in to go through this code, which is very handy for you to ensure that buildings do not crack. You know, some of the structural components do not crack and all that. So, and various types of cracks. See, so many types of cracks that you could see. Now here, freestanding walls such as compound gardens or parapet walls, why does it occur? What are the reasons for that? You could see they have clearly mentioned these cracks occur due to the drying shrinkage combined with thermal contraction. And cracks tend to close in hot weather. If wide enough, cracks may be repaired by enlarging them and filling the same with weak mortar. If no expansion joints have been provided earlier, some of the cracks may be converted into expansion joint. So one very important message that they are giving is that if you are having a long building, please give provision for joints, which is very important, because giving joints in longer building is very essential to ensure that the concrete expands and there is some space for it to expand and all that. So these are some of the important things that they have given in this code, and I would strongly recommend that you visit the website of Bureau of Indian Standard, and then you can look at these codes and ensure that your building doesn't crack. Because two most important thing which we have seen is that many of them grapple with this problem of occurrence of cracks, especially in summer season, and during monsoon they grapple with the problem of dampness and leakage, which can very well be avoided if you are making a good quality concrete. So with those words, let me thank all of you for having logged in. In fact, architect Senthil Kumar had given us a very good overview of how we should merge nature into our building designs, building construction, building operation. I think when we merge both these elements, you will have a habitat where you will feel enjoyable, and you will feel very happy about it. So architect Senthil Kumar, being the chairman of Indian Institute of Architects and having executed so many buildings across this thing, whether it is residential building, whether it is for colleges, whether it is for hotels, and he has also been able to incorporate the external elements, what nature is providing, whether it is sunlight, whether it is air, and I am sure that this would be useful for all the construction professionals. We need to see that, and if you want to interact with him, you can just send us an email, and we would be happy to forward that email to him. And any kind of advice that you would like to take on architectural related this thing, you can just shoot an email to us, which we would be forwarding to him. and anything related to cement and concrete, please feel free to interact with us, and we would be able to depute our mace engineers to your site so that you are able to make a good quality concrete. So thank you, Architect Senthil Kumar, for having joined us. It was a wonderful session, and almost 250, 200 participants, 230, 235 participants had joined. Now almost even during the conclusion of this thing, also 203 participants are still there on this platform, and we have many other participants on the Facebook Live as well. So I think a number of professionals and customers have joined. So let me thank all the participants also who have joined us and who have listened to us. And we await your feedback on this webinar. Tomorrow at 11 a.m., again, we would be having a webinar on sustainability, because there were some questions on sustainability in concrete, sustainability in building. So next few days, we would be having some more webinars on that. And tomorrow at 11 o'clock. So any concluding remarks from your side, Architect Senthil, before we close the session?
Yeah. Sustainability, like what you told, we can define if you are able to reduce the cost of the building, and if you are able to reduce the energy levels, that is what is called as sustainability. You don't have to go for a green building rating or Griha rating. No, all those type of ratings and all is not required. The cost of the building has to come down. That is the main criteria. If you are able to reduce the cost, that building is highly sustainable. If you are able to reduce the energy levels, then the building is highly sustainable. These two things you have to bear in mind whenever you construct a building. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you all the participants. So we take leave all of you, and we sign off from this webinar today, the 69th webinar that we have organized, and we are sure that it would have been useful to you. Please feel free to send in your feedback. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.